Because some brands are so powerful, we forget that a long time ago, the now famous brand name was the name of a nobody. That is definitely the case of Mr. Walt Disney. The Walt Disney Company is the greatest media company in the world, with a market cap of $206.62 billion. They own pretty much everything when it comes to media. Plus, they own the greatest amusement parks in the world, including hotels, resorts, and cruises. Looking at their success today, you'd never guess that this great company was started by a man who was once homeless. Walt Disney is a true rags-to-riches story. This is the insane story of Walt Disney and how a small idea evolved into one of the most powerful brands in the world. So, let's start from the beginning. Walter Elias Disney was born on the 5th of December 1901 in Chicago. When Walt was just a boy, his family moved to a farm in Missouri. The town they moved to is said to have furnished the inspiration and model for the main street of Disneyland. It was there where young Walt developed an interest in drawing and painting. His father later moved the family to Kansas City, Missouri, where he bought a morning newspaper route and compelled young Walt to assist him in delivering papers. And it was there where he began to study cartooning. In 1917, the Disney family moved back to Chicago, and Walt entered McKinley High School, where he took photographs, made drawings for the school paper, and studied cartooning on the side, while being hopeful that one day he would land a job as a newspaper cartoonist. His progress was interrupted by World War I, and he had to participate in the war as an ambulance driver for the American Red Cross in France and Germany. Now that's pretty crazy, because if he died in the war, there would be no Disney today. Anyways, after the war, he returned to Kansas City in 1919, where he found occasional employment as a draftsman and inker in commercial art studios. While there, he met Ub Iwerks, a young artist whose talents contributed greatly to Walt's early success. Together, Disney and Iwerks started a small studio of their own in 1922 and acquired a second-hand movie camera, with which they used to make 1- and 2-minute animated advertising films for distribution to local movie theaters. Then, just as things were about to start looking up, a New York film distributor cheated the young producers. It was devastating to the young producers, so Disney was forced to file for bankruptcy in 1923, and he lost his home, making him homeless. Just like that, Walt Disney had lost everything before it even started. Feeling depressed and ready to give up on life, Walt Disney decided to give life one more shot. So he decided to leave everything behind and move to California to pursue a career as a cinematographer. When they got there, they had a surprise success with their first motion picture titled Alice, and that compelled Disney and his brother Roy, a lifelong business partner, to reopen shop in Hollywood. With his brother Roy as business manager, Disney resumed the Alice series, persuading Iwerks to join him and assist with the drawing of the cartoons. They invented a character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and contracted for distribution of the films at $1,500 each. And that was the launch of their small enterprise. In 1927, just before the transition to sound and motion pictures, Disney and Iwerks experimented with a new character, a cheerful, energetic, and mischievous mouse called Mickey. Yeah, I know you've heard that name before. That's how it started. They had planned 2 short films called Plain Crazy and Galloping Gaucho that were to introduce Mickey Mouse. They used a jazz singer named Al Jolson for music, and that, my friends, is what brought sound to movies. It was never done before, so fully recognizing the possibilities for sound in animated cartoon films, Disney quickly produced a third Mickey Mouse cartoon equipped with voices and music, entitled Steamboat Willie. It was a hit. The following year, Disney started a new series called Silly Symphonies, with a picture entitled The Skeleton Dance. These new sound movies became expensive for Walt Disney, so he was constantly at risk of losing everything again. But the growing popularity of Mickey Mouse and his girlfriend Minnie, however, proved the public was interested in the fantasy of little creatures with the speech, skills, and personality traits of human beings. Walt Disney himself provided the voice of Mickey until 1947. This popularity led to the creation of other animal characters, such as Donald Duck and the dogs Pluto and Goofy. In 1933, Disney produced a short movie called The Three Little Pigs, which arrived in the midst of the Great Depression and took the country by storm. But the fairy tale of the little pig who works hard and builds his house of brick against the huffing and puffing of a threatening wolf gave people hope in the face of economic disaster. It was in this period of economic hard times in the early 1930s that Disney fully endeared himself and his cartoons to audiences all over the world, and his operation began making money in spite of the Depression. Disney had by that time gathered a staff of creative young people who were headed by iWorks. Color was introduced in the Academy Award-winning Silly Symphonies film Flowers and Trees in 1932, while other animal characters came and went in films. Walt Disney's brother Roy then went ahead to franchise a sales company where they sold merchandise with the cartoon characters on them, like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. They sold those characters on watches, dolls, and shirts. That right there made them more wealth for the company. Walt Disney was never one to rest or stand still. He had long thought of producing long-form animated films in addition to the short films. So, in 1934, he began work on a version of the classic fairy tale Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White was widely acclaimed by critics and audiences alike as an amusing and sentimental romance. By animating substantially human figures in the characters of Snow White, the Prince, and the Wicked Queen, and by forming caricatures of human figures in the Seven Dwarfs, Disney proved to be the best at making cartoon movies. But then, in 1941, a strike by Disney animators became a major setback for the company. Many top animators resigned, and it would be many years before the company produced animated features that lived up to the quality of its early 1940s classics. Disney's foray into films for the federal government during World War II helped the studio perfect methods of combining live action and animation. The studio's commercial films using this hybrid technique includes The Reluctant Dragon in 1941. The Disney studio also began making full-length animation romances such as Cinderella in 1950, Alice in Wonderland in 1951, and Peter Pan in 1953. The Disney studio was also among the first to foresee the potential of television as a popular entertainment medium and to produce programs directly for it. The Zorro and Davy Crockett series were very popular with children, and a weekly showcase, known by several titles, including Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color, became a Sunday night fixture. The Mickey Mouse Club, a variety show featuring a cast of teenage performers known as the Mouseketeers, was also successful. But the climax of Disney's career as a producer, however, came with his release in 1964 of the motion picture Mary Poppins, which won worldwide popularity. In the early 1950s, Disney had initiated plans for a huge amusement park to be built near Los Angeles. When Disneyland opened in 1955, it became a mecca for tourists from around the world. A second Disney park called Walt Disney World near Orlando, Florida, which was under construction at the time of his death, opened in 1971. So, that's how a homeless man created the greatest media empire the world has ever seen. Click the video on the screen to see just how rich American politicians really are.